All right, guys, we are live. It is a early night, only 10:17 p.m. here on the East Coast. This is the UFC Vegas 85 official post-fight show on Sherdog.com. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is my better half, the senior editor of Sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, do you want to tell the folks why we're a couple minutes behind than we normally are?
We were waiting for our French translator.
No, it was we were about to go on air, and then you and like Chris Curtis started getting a fight, and we had
started yelling at each other. Like you had to physically push me back into my own living room.
We just wrapped up UFC Vegas 65 Roman Dolidze versus Nassourdine Imavov card. We had 13 fights go down in the Apex. We'll get to the fights, but what are we doing with these Apex cards anymore? Like, just put that. Like, wouldn't that be so much better of a card? You just stick it in any random city in America. I mean, if that was in freaking, I don't know, Portland, Oregon, and the shit that happened with Chris Curtis, imagine the crowd would have been going crazy.
Yeah.
Or I guess anywhere. I mean, put in freaking Slovenia or something, you know?
Or put it in a mid-size theater on the Strip, of which there are literally dozens within 10 miles of you. Like, remember the cards at the Pearl at the Palms?
Yeah.
You know, in the immediate post-Huff era. That place seated like between 500 and 700 people, depending on where they push the chairs around. And it was live every time. Here,
yeah.
I understand that the Apex seats about 275, and it's just dead quiet until you can hear Chris Curtis screaming his head off. And it sucks all the energy out of the room. And we're to the point where fighters themselves are starting to complain about it. Yeah. Like fighters are just straight up saying, I'm tired of fighting at the Apex.
Absolutely. If you're, I mean, you and the boys are, you're in Vegas for the week, say for 5 days or something like that, and you're gambling every night, you partying, you've gone to the strip club 4 nights in a row. Finally, guys like, hey guys, you want to go somewhere else? One's like, let's go to a show, and then guys will start talking, and they're like, oh, can we go to David Copperfield or friggin' I don't know who's friggin' Carrot Top. Oh, dude, there's a UFC. Dude, you don't even have to be a fan, but you're drunk and you're like, dude, let's see, punch each other. Let's freaking do it.
And that's doable when you're on the Strip or Strip adjacent. The PI is not. It's like, hey, you want to get in an Uber and drive like away from where the party is and go sit in an empty gym and watch mediocre fights? No.
Yeah. Speaking of famous Vegas shows, have you ever heard of the magician Matt Franco? Oh no, is it Matt Franco? Shout out to the chat. Someone there would probably know who the magician is. I think his name's Matt Franco. Have you ever heard of it? A Franco. His last name is Franco. I know for sure.
Okay, I'm not sure I do.
He's super popular. He's like the young David Copperfield. Anyways, the reason why I'm telling you the story, he's from Johnston, Rhode Island, which is I don't know, 25 minutes. But even more connection, his older brother, his name is Ryan Franco. He was an old rival of mine in wrestling way back in the glory days.
Wow.
So, and he was the youngest brother who also wrestled, but not nearly as good as his 2 older brothers. So,
coming soon to the Sherdog Radio Network, 6 Degrees of Keith Shillan.
There
we will take a variety of entertainers and otherwise unknown wrestlers and make this web of acquaintances.
There you go. All right, let's get right into it. Roman Dolidze took on Nassourdine Imavov in the main event. Nassourdine Imavov won a unanimous decision. Ben, this is a really hard card to score, and I'll tell you why. Because I'm not on MMA decisions, but I know my scorecard was like really weird. So I'm sure a lot of other people's scorecards were weird. The first round could have been a 10-8 round. That's always up for debate. I thought it was a clear 10-8 round, but I know some people don't give out 10-8 rounds. The second round, there was no action at all. I saw some people saying, hey, it could go either way, or it could have been a 10-10 round. And then you have Imavov having a round where he does an illegal illegal kick to a down opponent, and you got a 9-9 round, or possibly even, I don't think it was a 10-8 round for Dolidze. So that said, give me your weird scorecard. What was it?
My weird scorecard was 49-44 Imavov. I did give him the 10-8 first round, and I did a 9-9 round 4.
Okay, and then you gave him round 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying like 10-10 round because it was about 4.5 minutes of clinching from Dolidze, and then Imavov landed like a good combination at the very end of the round. A lot of people gave Imavov that round because of that like one combination. I had it 48-45, so I went 10-8 first round. I actually went 10-9 Dolidze in the second. I'm okay with either way on that one. I went 10-9 third round for Imavov, 9-9, and then 10-9 for Imavov. So how the hell did one of the judges and I don't know if you heard the names. Someone check for us. Who was the judge that threw a 47-47 and won? How the hell did he get that? Which means
it was Ron McCarthy, who judges a lot of UFC cards. I mean,
he had to give 2 rounds. He had
to give 2 rounds. Well,
yeah, 2 rounds with a 10-8 round.
Yeah, and then
by 9. No, wait.
So basically, yeah, he scored. He probably scored 2 rounds for Dolidze.
Okay,
and we either had a 9, a 9-9, and he gave Dolidze one of the other rounds, or that was a 10-8 for Dolidze from him. Oh, it's maddening. Like, I don't even want to talk about this person. I'm so relieved that the right guy got his hand raised.
Yeah.
That I don't want to go any further down that path at all, because I got way too much shit to talk about their performances.
I figured out real quick. He did give 2 rounds to Dolidze. He gave 3 rounds to Imavov with the point deduction, making it 47-47. You normally be 48-47 with a point deduction, and then he didn't go 10-8 in the first round.
Which, I mean, it's obviously judging is a matter of opinion, but there is a standard. 10-8 rounds are the most lopsided 5% of rounds. Like, judges are in some jurisdictions, and should be in every jurisdiction, tracked. Like, if you score hundreds of rounds in a year, your 10-8 rounds should come out to about 5% of them.
Yeah.
Like, if it doesn't, then you're not quick enough to give 10-8 rounds.
Yeah, it might have been in like 5.2%. That's why it didn't make the cut.
I have no idea but what more do you want? You had a knockdown, you had tons of ground and pound where the fight could have been stopped by a more nervous ref, and you had a locked-in submission at the horn. Like, what more do you want?
So I got some text from friends and this, that. I saw a lot of people upset with this performance. Had too much clinching. It's middleweight. This you get. I don't think Imavov had a bad performance. I thought he looked fantastic. Agree or disagree?
I somewhat disagree here.
Okay, tell me how I'm wrong.
Okay, my problem is, for as dominant as he was, he could have been more dominant. Like, there, pretty much everything good that happened for Dolidze in the fight, I can trace directly to something Imavov did wrong. How he continued to concede the exact same clinch position round after round. I think it was 3, in like 3 or 5, most of round 4, aside from that terrible kick. I feel as though Dolidze was so spent, like so tired, and Imavov kept stunning him with single shots. There were so many points in those rounds where 2 more punches and we could have closed this thing out. And instead, just kept letting Dolidze crash the pocket. It's funny. He did a good job of managing distance until it really mattered. Like, he was just cutting up Dolidze from the outside, landing long, straight punches, keeping him back with kicks. I liked when he would kind of turn and present the more bladed stance and do the Stephen Thompson type kind of downward, like, spiking kick at the lead leg. But then once Dolidze was hurt, he just let Dolidze crash into him, run him to the fence. We'd end up with just, the head position and overhook battle. And until Dean got impatient with it, it was eating up huge chunks of the rounds. Like, just Imavov won. He rightfully won. I have no patience with the judge that ruled this a draw, but the judges could have been left out of this entirely.
Yeah, I mean, Herb Dean could have stopped it in the first round. I mean, when they were when Dolidze was on on his hands and he was kind of trying to do, trying to shake him off, and he's just eating, as Imavov has his back, he's just eating like uppercuts underneath his armpit over and over again. I said, oh man, they might stop this fight, because they weren't just like uppercuts from a weird position that you're not really getting power, because like they were hard shots. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Dolidze's face was busted up coming up afterwards. I felt like the fight reminded me a lot of, and this might be like living in the moment, but a lot of like the Ravens Chiefs second half, where there wasn't a lot of scoring in that. But to me, there was a lot of stuff going on that I didn't mind the fight at all. Like there was a lot of clinching. But like the second round, I really felt like Imavov was trying to conserve his energy. He was tired. He didn't mind clinching then because he was confident he wasn't going to take it down. There was a part where Dolidze like rushed him and he kind of grabbed him to kind of play it safe. I like a lot of stuff I did. I thought Imavov was really fast. I thought his teep kicks were great. His body shots, I thought it was pretty accurate. I do think there was some things he did wrong. Like there was times, especially early in the fight, where I thought he should have been feinting more, trying to draw, because I think from like the second, third round, Dolidze just kept kind of close the distance and kind of getting this clinch. And I felt like if he feinted a little bit, every time he moved or threw something, he'd like throw a big shot, and then Dolidze always followed it to try to get in the clinch. Like that was his chance. If he started feinting a little bit, kind of get that draw, and then he could sidestep and counter or something. What I want to remind people though, and like I said, there's some things I don't think was, the best performance, but he pretty much didn't get taken down. When the fight hit the ground, it was like kind of these weird scrambles or anything. He got some positions where a lot of people thought that Dolidze would dominate if the fight hit the ground. He was able to get his leg out and different things. In this division, being middleweight, it's not welterweight. It's not bantamweight. It's not where you have to blow me away with your skill set. I mean, no. I've seen Dricus du Plessis be on, what is he on, a 5 or 6 fight winning? I don't know what he is. Now is 6 in the UFC. All against, good guys. And not one time I've been blown away with his skill set. He's the world champion.
Yeah.
Like, I would expect Dolidze to be the favorite against Imavov, but I don't think he'd be a big favorite against him right now. Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Imavov would beat him.
I'm with you on that. Imavov's skills looked very impressive. And I hate to go to these kind of vague terms, but his generalship, not super great. Like the every UFC fighter that has ever promised that he was going to impose his will on his opponent, like turned over in his grave, even if he's still alive. Because Imavov's skills definitely outclassed Dolidze's. He was faster, he was sharper, so much more accurate. He managed to neutralize the things that Dolidze normally does well. You mentioned his takedown defense was actually on point. Just for as superior as he was in every phase, just letting the guy as dangerous as Dolidze hang around and hang around and hang around. It didn't cost him this time, but it doesn't make me feel super confident about him going forward, because everybody at middleweight is good at something.
Yeah.
Like nobody's perfect. They're all flawed. Yeah. Dolidze more dangerous than some and more flawed than many, but they've all got something they can hurt you with. And Imavov, if he's going to get into this habit of letting outclassed fighters stick around for 5 rounds, that's a worrisome thing.
Yeah. On the flip side, Dolidze is a guy that I've never, like, I just said that I've not been really high on du Plessis' skill set. I feel the same way about Dolidze. Even some of like his best wins, like the way he finished Jack and Ranson, he was losing the entire fight up to that point. Yeah. It's 3 fights in a row. He's really struggled with speed.
Oh. That's a perfect example. Imagine this same fight if they get into some weird collision.
Yeah.
And he ends up hog tying him like he did Hermanson.
He almost did. At the end of the 4th round, he almost did.
Yeah, he ended up with a knee bar that was at least enough to give Imavov something to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. I just, on the feet, I mean, Dolidze just looks slow. I mean, you can't be slow. So which makes you wonder, like when I said that Imavov looked fast, like did he look fast, or is it just that Dolidze is so slow and so raw. I mean, he's got some power, and he does something that does enough with his striking to give him chances. But I think his wrestling is. I've always said that. I think his wrestling is grossly overrated. And Dolidze, he's not really. Obviously, Imavov's not really known for his wrestling and his takedown events, but
No.
he was never once like in trouble and get taken down.
No.
We've kind of because he's got some pretty cool submissions. We have this. He has this like Damian Maya awe to him that if he gets the fight to the ground, it's over. I've been more worried about getting ground and pounded by the guy than getting submitted.
Yes, agreed.
So we kind of bashed the division, and even when you take like a guy like Israel Adesanya, who is this, probably behind Anderson Silva, the second greatest middleweight ever. Some people put him over Anderson Silva based on the time you're watching it, and kind of saying, oh, the athletes are better now, whatever. But even when Izzy was a champion, there was always that, but I mean, you know how I feel about Izzy, like his striking and his, I've always said he's my favorite guy to watch on film, but there was still issues with his ground game. And then obviously the Strickland fight was a terrible showing. So you don't have the Islam Makhachev, wow, he does almost everything perfect. He's so good. Alex Volkanovski, we have issues with Jacob du Plessis, who keeps winning right now. We have Sean Strickland. So with that said, Imavov is younger. He's a good athlete. He shows some well-rounded skills. Like, how far do you think this guy can go?
Other thing to remember about Imavov is he's still under 30, man. And he just switched camps. MMA Factory may not have been the perfect long-term camp for him. He may keep changing camps. He has plenty of upside, plenty of room to improve. Like, as he's currently built, I don't think he's a threat to win the title, but he could be in 2 or 3 years.
He could be.
He'll still be very much in his physical prime, and he has tools. Just they seemed a bit undirected here. But hey, he got a win over a top 15 guy.
There's nobody in the division that I would feel very good taking over him right now, except the elite of the elite strikers. Because Imavov's not going to really look to get the fight to the ground. Even if he does look to get the fight to the ground, he's not this dynamic wrestler where it's, I think he would struggle to try to get Izzy down.
Yeah.
And then that leaves on the feet. Now, again, Izzy's such a wild card, and who knows?
I think he'd struggle to get Whitaker down, and he's twice Whitaker's size.
Yeah, I don't think he would take Whitaker down. Yeah. So, the elite strikers, I think, like Izzy, if he's still elite, that Sean Strickland, it might not have just been an off night. It might not be a disinterest guy. It might be a guy who's at his age and the damage he's taken in kickboxing and MMA has faded. Like, we don't know, but we'll know when we see him more. But when you go down the division, you have du Plessis, who a lot of people thought he lost to win the title. So you have that. Mm-hmm. I thought he won, but I'm okay with anybody who scored for Strickland. Strickland, regardless how you feel about Strickland, listen, he's got his legions of people, his loyal people. Even the biggest Sean Strickland fan has to admit that, like, this you don't look at him and see like, oh, once in a lifetime talent.
No.
Yeah, Izzy with his I'm retired and his looked terrible his last fight, and when he's coming back and whatever. Cannonier's old and injured. Like, the division has so many spots right now, and so like, if we were ranking all the divisions, it's way down there.
It's way down there. It's hanging out. I mean, heavyweight's still the worst. And let's say that women's featherweight doesn't even exist. Well, it's now in a kind of a 3-way tie for me for second worst with light heavyweight and women's bantamweight.
Yeah. And I was thinking about the women's because it's just so hard to compare the women's.
But at light heavyweight, a lot of the best fighters are really old. And as our man Dev loves to point out, 205 is the worst fight IQ division. Like, at heavyweight, they're just not skilled. At 205, you get guys that actually have some skills and just fight terribly and inconsistently from one fight to the next. Like, And middleweight is picking up a little bit of both of those. And middleweight has the additional problem that some of the new blood that was working its way up the rankings is getting winged on the way up. Your Gregory Rodriguez's and Andre Muniz's are taking some losses on the way up. And yeah, it's just, it's a rough time for the division.
Yeah.
These things go in cycles, but.
Yeah, and shout out to I just put a quote on the screen. Davis Oswald. He asked me, like, he's doubting that I wouldn't take Bo Nickel over him. I don't know if he came in late. I said I would take elite strikers in the division over Imavov, and obviously that's what Bo Nickel is.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Dolidze, on the other hand, I think he should go back up to light heavyweight. I think he should bulk up, and we just talked about how bad the division is, so you know the road is easier, but his style of being strong and taking guys down, I just think it would work better at light heavyweight than because he's so slow on the feet that maybe if he's not as drained and he's got some more power, he might be quicker. I don't know. You're on mute.
I'm tempted to say he should do whichever he wants. He's not really top 10 material in either division right now, but I'm almost inclined to agree with you, because this is after on the preview, I praised him to the rafters for really rebuilding his body to make 185 and not just sucking out all the weight. But despite saying that, he has durability issues at 185, both in terms of cardio and just ability to react well to punches. I mean, I feel as though he was rocked badly for like the last 22 minutes of this fight. And maybe that wouldn't be the case at 205. He's 33 years old. If you're going to move either way at that age, up is probably better. You know, if he moves back up to 205, he can be whatever he is right now for another 5 or 6 years, no question. Yeah, I honestly, he should do whatever he wants, because again, he's not an immediate factor in the title picture in either division. But if anything, I think you're right. I think he can pick off a few more people at 205 because they're not more skilled than 185, and there are more people. There are more, as Jade Bunky points out, there are more of the Iwan Kudalabas and Johnny Walkers of the world who can always be counted on to, you know, make a huge mistake and give you a chance, even in the fight that you're losing.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys that you mentioned, they'd be fun matchups. We got a couple things to talk about this main event before we move on. I'll give you 3 options. I'll let you pick which one you want to talk about first. We have the ongoing saga of the down opponent, knee to the head, kick to the head. That's option 1. Option 2 is Chris Curtis. And option 3 is matchmaking. These guys. What would you like to do?
Let's get the matchmaking out of the way, and then get on to the enjoyable parts of it.
All right, let's start with Dolidze.
All right,
we'll hold up on Imavov because we might have a different opinion on Imavov.
And for me, they're flip sides of the same coin, but because I'm looking at a couple of matchups that are coming up in the next few weeks, and what's going to kind of go winner loser. But Dolidze, it's not as though he's a complete waste. We're still talking about a guy who at any moment can do something that is eye-popping. Yeah. And if you match him too far down, he's just going to kill somebody. But having said that, he needs a non-top 10 guy that's coming off a loss for sure.
Yeah, and not to mention, I mean, just look at the guy. The guy looks like he could be like cast in Gladiator 2.
Yep. Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if you guys know that. That's actually really happening. I couldn't believe it. I thought my friend was joking with me. But
I mean, especially now that he's got the shaven head and the long beard, he looks like one of the guys from 300. Like all the Spartans look about like him. I
want to see Imavov like fighting some character and like having like a freaking tiger jumping on him, and he's getting stabbed in the, by a spear or something.
Jade Bunky of the MMA Mic Drop says Dolidze versus Joe Pyfer if he wins next week. I don't hate that at all, because for me, it's time to feed Dolidze to the hot prospects. If you're not going to give him to a Bo Nickel type, Joe Pyfer type that's just killing people and on the cusp of stardom, I like that. I was gonna like going into this fight. My initial thought was, okay, whoever wins this, if they look good, they deserve a big name. Give them the winner of Costa versus Rockhold 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
Screw that. Neither of these guys has earned that.
You
The
mean,
winner
you,
might.
you mean Whitaker? You said Rockhold.
Oh, sorry, Costa and Whitaker. Screw that. The winner, maybe the winner of Kopolov versus Fluffy Hernandez, the loser of those two, or the loser could have the loser of Gregory Rodriguez and Brad Tavares this coming week.
Yeah, I think it was MMA Mike Drop who mentioned he actually went with the one that I'm going with the winner of Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopolov. Yeah, it's one of those ones. Like it's kind of like I always describe it as two escalators where you meet, and I mean obviously Dolidze he's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's kind of going down. He's struggled against that like top 15 guy. So let's see. I mean Anthony Hernandez and Kopolov really they're both on nice runs. If they're
on 4-fight win streaks. That's why my thought was give him the loser of that one, because the loser of that one just lost 1 fight after winning 4 in a row. You know, because a guy on a 5-fight win streak, I don't think it's fair to give a guy on a 2-fight losing streak. Those escalators are a little too steep for me.
See, to me though, like it's different scales of where they are. It's like the JV. And I'm not calling these guys JV, but like I think I've told this story before. It's one of my all-time favorite stories. We had this kid when I was coaching wrestling like way back in the day. There was like a big showdown in like the varsity. It was like 2 New England champions wrestling each other. And the guy on our team won, and we made a huge big deal about it. And there was a JV wrestler who also he was like, I don't know, brand new wrestler. He's super funny guy, and he won his JV match like earlier in the night. And he's like, "What's the big deal? Then I won my match too." So like, there's scales to who you beat, you know. And you know, to me, Dolidze is, you know, he's I don't know what he's in the UFC rankings, but he was, you know, in our I don't know what he is. So shout out to whoever always bashed me about me not knowing our rankings that I vote on every week. But you know, he's in our rankings. I'm assuming he'll probably still stay or just fall outside the rankings. To me, he's like not all losing streaks are. You know, Kamaru Usman's on like a 3-fight losing streak.
Dolidze was 10th in our rankings, 7th in the UFC's rankings coming into this fight.
So what do you think? He dropped, obviously he'll drop behind Imavov and maybe 1 or 2 other people. So like 12, 14, something in that range. Mm-hmm. So let's move over to Imavov because this is where we might disagree. So I'm assuming I've seen a lot of people saying Chris Curtis, and that makes sense. Like they kind of fought, that didn't end way. There was like a little spat in the cage. But if I'm Imavov and I really think I'm making a run for the title, I'm already ahead of Curtis. Like,
yep.
I beat a guy, your teammate that's, you know, supposed to be, I'm not saying he's better than Curtis, but like he's ahead of Curtis in the rankings. I'm assuming Robert Whitaker beats Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa looks so bad against Luke. I mean, I know he won and they knocked him out, but like to even like have the fight against Luke Rockhold they had, and I know Chris Curtis is coming off a win, and Robert Whitaker is coming off a loss to the champion. But you know, like again, not all wins and losses are the same. So I assume it. So I thought of Robert Whitaker, but I'm like, the division is such a weird stand right now with a new champion, and Izzy might be coming back, and Strickland kind of leaves Jared Cannonier just. And I know he's injured, but how long has he been injured? How long is he going to be injured? That's a guy you don't really want him to make this run. You don't want him to be in a title shot again. Give me Imavov versus Cannonier in like a fight night main event.
I'm fine with that. Again, just my whole thought was he didn't do enough to deserve a Whitaker here. Like, why do that? I'm fine with that. I mean, I would have been fine with the winner of Kopolov versus Hernandez. I would have been fine with the winner of Rodriguez versus Tavares, even if that's probably a step down for him.
Well, let me ask you this. So I almost said Whitaker, and I ended up going Cannonier. And who do you view as higher right now? I'm not talking about rankings. I mean, because Cannonier is on a little run right now. He recently beat the former champion Strickland. I mean, a terrible fight, but still. And Whitaker's coming off like who do you view as if you were Imavov, who's the the more.
Oh, I want, if I'm Imavov, I want to fight. I want the former champ, the bigger name.
Okay,
yeah.
but look at like from a like rankings and winning and all this that like what's the word I'm looking for? Not in the sense like, okay, I want the bigger name. Like obviously I want Connor, I want something like that. But who do you think? Okay, if you pick up the phone and is he? Nope, I can't fight Triple SA. Next call, and you call Strickland. He that's not happening. Are you calling Whitaker first? Or are you calling Canada?
No, you're calling Whitaker first. In the UFC, former champs always have a quicker route back to the title, unless there's some weird circumstance. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if you offered Imavov the choice, he'd pick Whitaker.
Of course. Yeah. Now mention this. Which one's a harder fight?
I think Whitaker.
Yeah.
I think if Cannonier and Imavov fight, I think Imavov wins an agonizingly cautious kickboxing match, 49-46.
Yeah, he could.
Like no tape. That's my guess.
Yeah, and before anybody asks, I know that Whitaker beat Cannonier not that long ago, but
yeah.
You want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Curtis? Or you want to talk about the knees to the down opponent?
I want to save the knees to the down opponent or the kick to the down opponent for the last thing.
Okay. Chris Curtis, dude, this fucking guy. So this is why, like, as much as people talk and say, "Oh, Dana White and the UFC brass are not professional," I'll tell you right now, if I ran the UFC, they're way more professional than me. Their security is way more professional than I am, because I think about it like this: if you're at a bar, no, a little different, but if you've been to a bar when there's a pay-per-view or whatever,
sure.
Buffalo Wild Wings or something like this. And so many people, there's like, you have the hardcores who are looking up and I want to hear what the guy said, going to say to Joe Rogan. But so many people at that point are freaking paying the tab, saying bye to their friends, grabbing the keys, already gone before like they're talking. But if you have Chris Curtis in the cage, as they're raising the hand while the interview is going on, they're back and forth. I'll tell you right, you're gonna at least look up. You still look up and see. Like if you were watching on ESPN, you're not changing the channel yet. You're gonna hold the eyeballs a little bit longer.
You are, because the old school among us are about to watch and see if we get another Strikeforce Nashville moment with like Mayhem Miller getting jumped by 5 people.
It's like Jerry Springer. Like I wasn't a big Jerry Springer watch. Back in the day when I had a TV and you're flicking through the channels. I know everything's streaming now, but back in the day when you flick through the channels, if there was like some freaking skinny crackhead talking about three baby daddies, I might change the channel. But the second I get the Jerry Springer and freaking 2 guys are getting separated and they're throwing haymakers at each other over some fat chick, like I want to at least watch those 30 seconds.
Oh yeah. See if a chair comes flying. Like, yeah.
Like get Curtis in the cage as all possible. I wanted as soon as the fight ended, the buzz. I wanted Curtis to jump over the cage and then them start throwing haymakers at each other. Like that would have been perfect. Like, I mean, not like just go straight over the cage and I don't know. I love the drama. All right, strikes. We can't put it off anymore. I'm glad Herb Dean took a point because
you have to.
You have to. You can't.
It was the most blatant foul. I'm not saying it's the worst foul I've ever seen. It is the most flagrant foul I've ever seen. He literally paused, looked around the corner, verified that his hand was down, and then proceeded to kick him square in the face. Like they get worse, they get more damaging, but they do not get any more blatant than that.
My son had a birthday party today, and we went to this. It was an airsoft gun place, but also had like gel blaster. You ever see gel? It's like kind of like, but you could shoot kids and it doesn't hurt as much. So I mean, a bunch of 9-year-olds. He looked like me today, like sneaking around the tunnel and freaking sniping, like sniping my son, who like crouching down in like a little hole that he doesn't. And I see him and just bam. I hate the hand down, the plane. Like I don't know anybody. Like everybody wants the rule to change.
And it might be going away.
I'm glad Herb Dean took a point because you can't illegally kick some guy in the face and just be like, oh, it's a bad rule, so don't take a point.
Right.
That said, like, come on, like either allow knees and kicks to a down opponent or like get rid of it altogether. Like get like this one hand down playing thing, like come on, guys, what the frig? I mean, like as much as we're talking about Imavov, like sneaking around the corner and landing it, Dolidze was also playing the game as bad as I've seen anybody play the game. Like he was putting himself in positions where he could roll underneath and try to get a knee bar, but also like, oh, you can't hit me. And then the whole different states have like they were talking about, I guess, oh, California might be changing it. So cool. Then you got a guy, oh shit, my last fight was in California where I could kick a guy in the face. Like,
well, California being one of the three most important commissions, well, the four most important commissions with Nevada, New Jersey, and Mohegan. Here's hoping that they change it. Everybody loves it. We get fewer stupid shit like this, and everyone else follows once they see it makes sense. Someone has to be the leader.
And I know people think like the old Pride days with the stomps and with the kicks, like the soccer kicks, and
Pride had no elbows on the ground. They had their own problems. Yeah,
I know. So, but people think about that, and people who are against, like, oh my god, you know how bad it's gonna look to see someone freaking soccer kick a guy in the UFC in that face. It's gonna be rare because in the UFC, it's the best guys in the world fighting each other. It's not freaking Vanderlei Silva fighting some Japanese pro wrestler who in his UFC, in his MMA debut.
It's not Crow Cop versus Yuji Nagata.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could still happen, of course. It just soccer kicks is not going to be as popular as people think of it. It might not, you know. So, still needs to be changed. All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah, I'm ready to move on. About?
No. Hanato Moicano took on Drew Dober. Hanato Moicano won a unanimous decision. Let's work backwards.
Okay.
Dude, I fucking love this new Moicano jump out of the cage saying dropping 97 F-bombs and talking about killing people and shit. I freaking love this dude.
I don't know what snapped inside the head of Money Moicano, but he is a man transformed, and it looks like whatever it was, it took, because the whole thing was he had his huge dark Moicano moment, and then he immediately disappeared for 15 months, but he came back. He won a pretty fun fight, and he is, if anything, even more extreme. So yeah, I guess this is Moicano's world. We are all just taking up space, and we're being as polite as possible because potty mouth Moicano is going to take mythical status alongside motivated BJ Penn, Chuck with that look in his eye, Coors Light Brock Lesnar. Yeah.
He reminds me, everyone talks about the bad drunk, but there's always that good drunk. You know, the guy who gets drunk and he's like, wow, how much fun this guy is.
Yeah.
I always think of that, that comedian Mark Norman. I love that guy. You heard of Mark Norman, the comedian?
I've heard of him. I've not seen him.
Oh my god! Oh, you got to watch this shit. He's so. I just saw him in person a couple months ago. I actually met him. It was cool. Dude, he has this joke. He's like, everyone talks about the bad of drugs. What about the good? No one says hey, dude, yeah, you did crash your car into a group of elementary school kids, but man, you could dance. That's Moicano. Moicano reminds me of when I have a cookout, this one neighbor I have who gets drunk and he gets loud and he just gets, oh, Eric's drunk. Here we go. We're in for some fun. And he just going off on every single thing. Yeah, give me more of that. Now that said, I'm worried about Moicano moving forward.
Okay, tell me why.
He's taken a lot of damage. And yeah, he's a very good grappler, but he's a topside grappler. And I've always struggled with, don't get me wrong, I will always take a topside grappler over the Ryan Hall's, Butt Scoot, and those guys are never going to win. But, I'm talking about the Charles Oliveira. He's not a Charles Oliveira.
No.
And he's more of a Javier Dos Santos. Now, RDA obviously made it that far, champion. But you get my point. I think you get my point. But he's taken so much damage. I mean, the damage he took in this face, he was rocked a couple times. Now,
oh yeah,
I like what he did. Like, he dug deep. I'll give him that. He dug deep. I mean, he was busted up. His eye was spitting blood was coming out like crazy. I mean, he just was rocked. He probably lost the round right before that with a big flurry from Dober at the end. I have a 1-1 heading into the third round. He just got clipped in the third round. He's losing with about half the round left. He's about to lose to Drew Dober. Dude just got freaking, not that long. Like, Drew Dober hit him with a freaking lateral drop, and then he found a way to reverse the lateral drop and then control the rest of the fight and win. So I'm like, it's not a bad performance. He beat Drew Dober. Beating Drew Dober is never a bad performance. Don't get me wrong. I just can't see him beating the top 10 guys in the division, and that's what he's going to get next.
I agree. He's in that unenviable position where he has been in the top 10 in 2 divisions in the UFC. So it's almost the Roxanne Modafferi thing where he needs steps back, but anytime he wins a fight, he's going to get a top 10 opponent in his next fight. He has enough name value to be able to headline a fight night on the right night, and he's been a top 10 guy, so he's never really going to get a break. And yeah, it's going to be rough for him going forward, because when the wheels fall off, I feel like they're going to fall off all at once, because he's taken a bunch of punishment. He took punishment tonight, even in a win. I like that you pointed out that he dug deep, because even though this was kind of a sloppy fight, it was a fight where both guys gave away chances to win, I think. The flip side of that is that both guys cut across the narrative about them a little bit. If you'd asked me going into the fight, and theoretically you did since we previewed it, I would have said that if Dober catches Moicano clean and hurts him, the fight's probably over, because Moicano is a little bit of a front runner and has some durability issues. And I would have said if Moicano ends up on top of Dober while they're both reasonably fresh, this thing is over, because Dober's defensive grappling is terrible. Moicano dug deep more than once, and Dober stayed calm, and not just stayed calm, because I mean, he's one of my favorite fighters ever, but Frank Mir used to stay calm while getting his ass whooped all the time. Dober stayed calm on the ground and did the right things to push an elite and a heavy topside grappler off him. Just little subtle things, like he was able to get knee shields in and use a single butterfly hook to create scrambles and actually get back to his feet
once.
No, he did it. He did it. I think first and third. Like, but that's twice more than I thought he was going to. I figured the first time this thing went to the ground, he was either going to get slapped around until he turned his back and got rear naked choked, or he was just going to get arm triangle choked from top position, and he survived.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I thought when he got taken down in the first round, it was over. That said, listen, I love Drew Dober. I mean, how can you not love Drew Dober? I mean, the guy knocks dudes out, but his wrestling is dog shit. Like,
it's not.
I mean, he's talking about this week. He did an interview and he was saying about his brown belt, and he's competed in jiu-jitsu, and his wrestling has come so long. Everyone wants to take me down. It's not going to happen. It's like he had Moicano rocked in the first round, just buckled him.
Yep,
Moicano's still like, dazed and confused, and still got in on his hips and took him down. I love wrestling. I love wrestling. Like, it is, when it comes to things that I on the side of MMA and spending time with my family, that's my top hobby. I think about my daughter. So my daughter does drum lessons on Monday, and if she does it by herself, I go in with her, because I'm not letting my 12-year-old daughter go in a basement with some guy, like grown man.
Sure.
I'm not accusing him of anything. I've never seen him acting appropriate, but just I'm not letting my 12-year-old daughter be alone with some guy in his basement. But when sometimes they do, which I really love, they do like a group jam session. So I have like a guitarist who's learning to play the guitar and a freaking singer, and it's pretty fun. They put like kids who do multiple lessons, they put them together. Mm-hmm. I love when they do that, because that means the drum lessons, which is right next to my son's wrestling team in his private lessons at that time, I can go whoop right to the and this is where I'll circle back to the wrestling. I can go right to the wrestling, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching kids that are not even my kids learn how to wrestle, and I love watching these kids accomplish their dreams and working hard. I love wrestling.
Sure.
I just want like, Dober, please, dude, learn some wrestling. Like I love that he had a lateral drop, but he got excited. He's the fat kid who hit a headlock once, and now forever he's gonna try to hit the headlock and get himself in. I want Dober to be good. I really, because he's so fun on the feet.
Yeah, he's so fun on the feet, and I said it on the preview. He's 35 at this point. He is what he is, man. Boss pointed out what I have said since we've done this show. He said he has the greatest disparity between how good it looks like he should be able to wrestle and how good he does wrestle. He's a 5'8" chunk of muscle from Nebraska with cauliflower ear, like white guy with a jaw like this wide. He looks like a cross between Duke Nukem and like the Doom guy from the original Doom video game. And he has the worst wrestling. Like, I don't. Do they even let him go back to Nebraska between camps? Is that why he stays in Colorado? Like, just Jordan Burroughs and Jason Kelber just stay at the border of Nebraska and don't let him back in. They're on I-80 and like, just, sorry.
I think Dober, he's got the knockout record, which is cool. Like that's gonna be his big accomplishment until someone breaks it. For the division, he needs to go straight. Was it Kevin Holland who was like, I'm not. Oh no, I know Quentin Jackson for a long time said I'm not going against wrestlers anymore. And I think didn't Kevin Holland do the same thing? Like he needs to just do that. Like nope, like that guy's wrestled before. No, not going against him. Like no, but this guy hasn't got a takedown in like 12 fights. It doesn't matter. Nope,
doesn't matter.
I'm only going against strikers. Like that's it. What are we gonna do with these guys?
Moicano. I'm not pushing him back into a fight with a top 10 guy. Like, just okay. I'm not doing it. He's won 2 fights in a row and they were 15 months apart. So there's no pressure. It's not like he's on a 6-fight win streak where you have to push him up the rankings. So
yeah, but he wants to retire so he can be a cop and kill people. So he's got to be quick.
Oh, like yeah, the like that slamming sound you heard was every police department in America shutting their doors. Like, we do not have the PR funds to let this.
Yeah, I know some of them might not, but okay.
Right.
And
he does live and train in Florida. Oh, good grief!
If this is your first time listening, I'm actually a police officer, so I'm
not Keith is a police officer. He's like,
I get a pass.
Like, I'm giving him like a lateral move, and I'm giving him a younger guy coming off, or at least a younger in the sport guy coming off a win. In a few weeks, Joel Alvarez and Ludovic Klein are fighting. I'm going to give him the winner of that.
Okay.
Or or I'm giving him a contender or hot prospect coming off a loss, like an Ismail Bonfim or Rafael Fiziev.
Okay. I am going with a pay-per-view card fight, main card of a pay-per-view. Give me him and Dan Hooker. They've never They never fought each other. Like they're both kind of resurrected the career a little bit recently. And they're both great on the mic too. So
yeah,
Dober, give me Nasrat Hakparas. 2 heavy hand guys who like to throw it out of the pocket.
I'm a-okay with that. I'd also be fine with him getting like the loser of Alvarez versus Klein, something like that. Like, he shouldn't take too far a step back. He should just settle in and be like the lightweight Derek Lewis for a few years, and then just yeah.
But that's like Drew Dober's the one guy that Derek Lewis could beat in a wrestling match. I mean, he wasn't NCAA All-American though, right? Derek Lewis. This one, they ain't gonna be. I mean, we previewed it twice. There's not gonna be much to talk about. Randy Brown took on Muslim Salikov. Randy Brown winning by first round TKO. I love the breakdown of they said that he was seeing things and they wanted like a real. So DC asked him a question like, "Yeah, you said to your coach, I see that." And he just wanted to be like, and that's what you set the counter. You saw the way he was spinning. He just wanted to be like, "Yeah, man, that's exactly what I saw." Instead, he gave this like really long breakdown of every single thing he saw. But I love that. I love that a guy made an adjustment, landed one of the cleanest punches, probably the cleanest punch of the entire night. And I mean, Randy Brown, dude's won 6 out of 7.
He's won 6 out of 7. The one loss is to Jack Della Maddalena. There's no shame there. Della Maddalena is a contender right now, and if things break right, might be a champ one day. Brown, Jade Bunky of the MMA Mic Drop says he's always thought he was underrated. Yes, he's the exact kind of guy who's easy to underrate because early in his UFC career, he was super raw, super wild, lost some fights that maybe he shouldn't have, lost fights in weird ways. Like his loss to Nico Price in 2017 or 2018 or whenever that was is still one of the weirdest finishes you'll ever see in the UFC. So when he finally started to tighten things up and get his act together a little bit, it took people like me who'd been watching him for years, a little time to come around on him. So I agree. I've been underrating him until a year or two ago. Boss says Muslim is washed. I don't know if completely washed, but he's slipping. He's slipping. And the first things to go are the speed, the timing, and the chin. That was check tonight. He looked mostly like Muslim Salikov. Like the first spinning thing he threw, I could almost feel the wind through my computer screen. Like in bursts, he's still like blindingly fast, but the timing isn't quite there. And I forget who said it, that Brown countered spinning shit with linear shit. Like Brown, it just almost looked like it was in slow motion, that he had like 5 full seconds to line up because he hit him with a jab and then a cross. And that cross, he had all the time in the world, hit him with a perfect punch that wasn't, I mean, it was hard, but it wasn't some huge kill shot. It was just a clean, short, accurate shot from an unexpected angle and iced Muslim Salikov.
Yeah. I'm still on the fence on Randy Brown. I mean, he's 33, so like it's really now or never. That division, obviously, it's always now or never in that division. He could be 23 and a loss will send you back really, really far back. He's on a great run, but he's still missing that win, that marquee win, the next, like he keeps banging his wall, like he's hitting the ceiling, and Jack Della Maddalena beats him. Like he hasn't got that win yet. So that's concerning me. And yeah, he's got those raw tools, his length, his teep kicks. If he's got to land power shots like this, I've always thought he's a pretty underrated wrestler. But for a large portion, he was still getting his legs kicked out, which been an issue. Salikov, I mean, it wasn't a long fight, but Salikov was landing some nice kicks to him. So I don't really know what to do with him because based on his age and the division, I do think he deserves another step up and, facing a big guy. But the division is so loaded. There's so many new faces. When it seems like we do it every week. We call it new faces, Sean Brady and Shavkat and Ian Gary, and the list goes on and on and on. We've done it a million times. Some guys gotta have to face these guys, right? So I'm gonna treat him more like the veteran than like the newer guy because he's not. So give me a pay-per-view main card fight and let him be the big test for Michael Morales.
Oh, I don't hate that at all. That would certainly tell us a lot about Morales because, again, Brown has become the kind of guy, and Bob Chimpson is all over us saying that we're riding high on Brown and he's not really shown us that much. But
I don't think we're being high on him. We say let a nice punch. What else did we say?
But
we're not calling him a prospect. He's 33 years old.
I said on the preview that despite being 33, he has a bit of prospect feel just because I feel as though he's still improving.
He's 33. Shout out to my friend, Hollywood actor Larry DaCosta, and I say Hollywood actor because he's actually been in Hollywood movies, but you wouldn't know it if you don't know him because he's a small-time actor, but he has a couple roles. He said to me when I turned 33, like we went out for drinks or something, he's like, dude, 33 years old. He goes, that's the same age as Jesus when he died. And then he goes, man, think of all the things Jesus accomplished in 33 years compared to you.
And he didn't really start until he was 30. Like Jesus was a late starter, and that's way to help a man's self-esteem there. Good grief. I like your matchup. I'm giving Brown another guy that's definitely no prospect in terms of calendar age, but is on an undeniable hot streak at this point. One of these guys needs to advance. I'm giving him Nicholas Dalby.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a tough
Dolby
fight.
is like
Dolby's tough.
7-1-1 since he's been back.
Oh,
And you know
run.
what? He's got 4 wins in a row, and the last 2 were Muslim Salikov and handing Gabriel Bonfim his first loss.
Yeah. No,
Like,
kid's
Dolby's a
tough as
problem.
hell.
If anything, Dolby might be closer to the top 10 than Brown right now. I say let him fight it out.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You can't make a bad fight at welterweight. What a great division.
Seriously.
Speaking of great, Vivian Araujo was the test for Natalia Silva. Give me we'll get to the grade of the card, but give me the grade for Silva alone.
A-.
Okay.
I thought she did almost everything really well in the cage. Outside of the cage, she continues to be Amanda Hebus with bigger muscles, just this like bubbly, overflowing, just adorable girl next door thing who also happens to be mean as shit in the cage.
She's singing happy birthday to herself.
Singing happy birthday to herself
in Portuguese.
In Portuguese.
She won the. There might have been more people at my son's birthday party today than at her birthday party.
That spoke Portuguese.
No, just in the Apex, and then she tried to get them to sing in the not even their language. But hey, I love her.
What's not to love? She's on this streak. She keeps winning. She's now beating. She now beat a top 10 fighter who was a top 5 fighter 12 or 18 months ago. And she is still improving incrementally in between. Like, even physically, like she looked built as hell tonight. Like she's continuing to put muscle on her frame while still having at least enough cardio to do that bouncy thing for 3 rounds. She's fast. She's strong. She has a unique kicking game. She's a whole hell of a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. We said this on the previous show that this felt like a passing of the torch type fight. Just a really bad stylistic matchup for Araujo. Araujo, she's a great grappler. She gets to fight the ground. She's really good there. But on the feet, the way she beats people is being faster, being more explosive. She's not this technically sound striker. She's just kind of a female Phil Hollis type. Like and unfortunately for her, Natalia Silva is faster, younger, more explosive, more elusive, more skilled.
To compare to someone who fought tonight, female Roman Dolidze, like against unschooled strikers, she looks great because she's fast, strong, and hits really hard. But her lack of fundamentals pops out when she fights someone who's as athletic as her and a really good striker.
Yeah, and I thought Silva looked fast, elusive, a lot of creativity. She's nice jab, quick high kick, showed good takedown defense against a strong grappler. No, I'm not like I would give it a B. Like I thought it was a good one. I'm still a little worried about some things. It could be a little hectic. A crafty, polished veteran that doesn't have the same upside might give her one of those like one of those head scratching losses that you like later on you're like, oh, and then then she wins the title like 3 fights later, but like you're like, oh man, how'd she lose to Caitlin Chikagian? Because I still think you could outcraft her.
Sure.
But I feel like the window, like I think our fight IQ might not be totally there, but the time is closing.
Yes.
To do it. So I like her a lot. I see people talking title contender. Let's do this. We always do it welterweight. Let's do a female flyweight. I'll give you 3 names. Rank them for me. And they're gonna be the new girls, but these aren't the girls breaking the top 10. Now you're talking top 5-ish. Erin Blanchfield, Manon Farrow, Natalia Silva. Rank them for me.
In terms of how good they are right now or their future upside?
Let's go. How about, yeah, it's kind of like, obviously, Farrow is much older than, go like, yeah, like skill, upside. How about this? You have you could sign someone for a 3-year contract, and that's it. Rank them. How you'd sign them.
3-year contract? I'm taking Manon Fior first because I think she's the best of the 3 right now. she'd be the one that'd be most likely to fight for or win a title within that span. Second, I'm going Silva now. As high as I am on Blanchfield, Silva is such a better athlete that I just think she has more upside. Like, Blanchfield's striking is pretty good right now, and it could continue to improve, but there's a hard cap on how good it'll get. Silva may just come out and be a lights out grappler in a couple of years, and we never saw it coming, but she just has the physical gifts that she can make it work. Or she may become the person that it doesn't matter because she's impossible to take down in a couple of years.
Yeah, and then obviously you have Blanchfield third. That's exactly how I have my list. And I don't feel comfortable in any of that. Like, I could feel like anybody can convince me to change it anyway. But if you said of those three, who's most likely to win a title a year from now? Manafaro.
Sure.
You know, she's really big, good striker. Who has the most dominant skill set? Like, one skill.
Blanchfield's grappling is best. It's the best individual skill any of the three of them has.
Yeah, she's the Steph Curry. Like, she freaking shoot and shoot and shoot. But I'm still give me like a LeBron. Give me the more well-rounded.
Sure.
Manafaro is the LeBron. And I know I'm talking about young new girls, and I'm like, hey, let me compare it to the 40-year-old basketball player. But or whoever. I'm not a basketball person, but like the well-rounded person versus or you know what? Manafaro feels like the starting pitcher, while Blanchfield is that like relief pitcher who has that
the closer who just has
gas, throw 103 and but doesn't have enough pitches. Like, that's what I feel about Blanchfield. Like, I still feel like Blanchfield could win the title because of that one. She gets someone to the ground. I just think her wrestling is a little overrated, and I think her striking is good. But I think her analysis was perfect. I think she had a lack of athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Silva has that athleticism, and long term, if this was like I said Manafaro is the person who's most likely to win a title a year from now. But if you told me who's the most likely person to win a title ever and defend it 3 or 4 times, then my answer is Silva. So, we're on the same wavelength there. It's really hard to match her because the entire with the Grasso Shevchenko nonsense, with people like Manafaro and Aaron Blanchard, who's kind of ahead of her based on accomplishment, who they've beaten. It's hard to, and a lot of people are matched. It's really hard to find an opponent for her. So, what are you doing with her?
With Silva?
Yeah.
Well, Chikagian and Macy Barber are fighting on March 9th. If Chikagian wins, I like Chikagian versus Silva. If Barber wins, I don't hate Barber versus Silva. Not Tracy Cortez is all I'm saying.
There's another girl we haven't added to the list.
Cortez is on a nice win streak, but you and I both believe there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors there. Just keep these two away from each other.
She convinced me a little bit more after her last performance. I'm still. If we were ranking these 4, she'd be last for me. But I'm a little higher on her based on the last one. And honestly, you don't think of her because she's been in the UFC for a really long time. But based on her age and everything, you could really throw Macy Barber in this group.
Sure. Yeah, just she was so young when she got to the UFC and had early failings on such a big stage that some people dismissed her prematurely. Some people think she's older than she is. Yeah, I mean, she belongs.
Beating Hebes was a great win. Beating Hebes was a great win. And if she beats Caitlin Chikagian, there's no denying. Because say what you want about Caitlin Chikagian. I mean, she's been on top of the division for a really long time. That is not an easy out.
No.
Like, she is that frustrating. Oh God, she does everything just good enough.
She's a nightmare. Yeah.
Which is why I said that, like, she could be the one that Silva's skill set is so much better, but Chikagian is crafty and smart, and she's always going to put herself in the best position to win. I was looking at the list of people out there. I'm just giving her like a stay busy fight because of the log jam up there. and I'm trying to keep her away from like a Caitlin Chikagian. Just give me Lauren Murphy, former title challenger.
I'd like that just fine. Murphy's at the point where I know she's not officially retired, but I'm sure she's at the very least going to kind of pick and choose however many fights she has left. She's 40 at this point. Somebody ban that person.
I don't know if that is.
All right, I just did it, and yeah, I'm fine with that. But
stop with the Tracy Cortez. Watch that fight. Aaron Blanchfield clearly beat Blanchfield. I say it every time. And that was I don't say robbery. That was a robbery. Aaron Blanchfield won that fight.
Yeah, Blanchfield beat Cortez.
Oh, they're saying Murphy's not in the UFC anymore. I'll bring it back.
No. Bring her back. Bring her back.
Whatever. You get my point. Give her just anybody. Yeah. Really, I'm okay with anybody. How about so now Adaruja has a little bit of a name, but like she is the kind of going down. What would you do with her? Like to me, I'm gonna try to get someone over, or not get someone over, but just someone who deserves. So I'll go first. I'll go first.
Go for it.
Give me JJ Aldridge. She's much better than people think. She's on a 2-fight winning streak. She kind of deserves a step up in competition.
I'm a-okay with that. Otherwise, she's one that you could match Tracy Cortez against. Let Cortez use that name value to get a leg up. Or if you think Araujo is like just another fighter and doesn't have the name value to elevate someone, then give her like the win of the winner of like Joanne Wood and Marina Moroz that I think are fighting the same weekend as Chikagian and Barber.
Okay. That works.
Karini Silva says Jade Bunky of the MMA mic drop. I like that just fine. Oh, Big Marcel is coming back and saying, no, Murphy is still in the UFC. You would think I, who live in the same town as Murphy and like know her coach, could get some clarity on that. But
in fairness, Big Marcel is a huge Lauren Murphy fan. Like, yeah, I think he's the president of her club. I think
he's driving the Lauren Murphy war wagon, or
yeah, it's like it's like that like crazy fan with Selena. Like he's that big into her. It's like you remember The Godfather? Yeah. Watch the Godfather movie. Remember they like the crazy guy with the big hair that was like in love with Whitney Houston. That's Marcel with Lauren Murphy.
The Godfather.
I'm a guy. What am I talking about? The Godfather.
The Bodyguard.
The Bodyguard. Yeah. No. First of all, I apologize to anybody that I would ever mix up those two. Like the greatest movie ever, and Whitney. I mean, you know what? Let's just end the show right now. End the show. Right. That was. Oh my Lord. That's. I was talking to a guy who was asking me. He's like, "Oh, so who does your edit?" I'm like, "Well, Ben does the editing for previous show, but like the other show, we do it live." He's like, "Oh, you worry about mistakes?" I'm like, I don't make that many mistakes. I just made it immortal. the immortal sin, the one that can't be forgiven. Speaking of sins, Mahmoud Muradov took on Aliskab Kizriev. I apologize. I know I butchered that name.
It's okay. You're not going to need to say it for another 2 years now.
Dude, this guy has no luck. What was it? It was about 15 seconds.
11 seconds.
11 seconds. The guy never fights. He is undefeated. This shit's going to happen in MMA. And unfortunately, we got 11 seconds for on paper was one of the fights I was looking most forward to tonight.
Sure.
Maybe the most.
This guy, his health record aside, you could make the argument that he was the closest to a title shot in his division off a win. Like if he could stay healthy and win 2 more times this year, he would have been right up there. But no, a few people laughed a couple weeks ago when I said that Magomed Ankalaev is the kind of guy that would cross the street to step in dog shit. Like Kizriev would get out his passport and book an international flight to go step in dog shit. Like this guy is a magnet for ill fortune. It's just unprecedented. It is wild.
He wouldn't step in dog shit. He'd trip on the curb and then fall face first into the dog shit.
Like, oh my goodness.
All right. I mean, run it back. Like, if Muradov wants to wait 3 years for Kizriev to fight again. Bass. Listen, Bass is listen, I'm gonna go with listener night already. Bass, that line right there, because you're getting ready for UFC 400. Nice job. My man Bass. Gilbert Urbina took on Charles Radke. Radke winning by first round knockout. I will say this: Gilbert Urbina. The one thing I learned about him tonight is Gilbert Urbina is still an Urbina.
Yep.
Radke looked great. I thought he looked really good. I mean, he walked him down, was forcing Urbina on his back foot, kind of reacting then instead of being on offense, and just blasted him twice.
Yeah.
Like blasting him, a couple seconds later, blast him again.
With basically the exact same punch, just nice little left both times. He's a better fighter than Urbina, apparently. And Urbina came into this as like a 2-1 favorite. That was great performance by Radke. Like he did exactly what you should do. Navigated the distance fine against a very tall, lanky welterweight. Landed with power without overswinging. The nice thing about those were he hit a moving target in space in that kind of middle range cleanly twice, like 3 seconds apart. Pretty stuff.
Bass says Urbina is still the number one beater in his household. That's like, what's that movie from, I don't know, way back in the day, where there was like freak shows were all put together and like bearded lady and like guy walks on his hands. You ever see that movie? And it's, you know, and then they like, it's like a horror movie. They band together and after getting picked on for years, they finally like go on a rampage and kill people.
I want to see it now.
Yeah, I think it's called The Godfather.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. Somebody, it was like Freaks or something.
Oh, like Freaks. That. So like the old like 1930s one, like the really old.
Is that what it is? 1930.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's like the Urbina household. Like, okay, I guess you're the best in the household, but what does that say? It's like,
yeah,
it's like it's like the best looking girl like at a Wednesday night at Tommy's Lounge. Like, I know you don't know what Tommy's Lounge is, but I think everyone has
just
a Tommy's
the way
Lounge. Everyone's got a Tommy's Lounge.
From the way you said it, everyone in town got a Tommy's Lounge.
Yeah, or the Patriot Bar or something like that. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we started the show by saying, "What the hell? Why are you in the Apex still?" It's so funny because every single time this like Dana White does the media, after every pay-per-view, like someone in the media asks, like, "Yeah, so where you want to go next?" And he always says the same spiel, like, they always ask like the random, like, "Oh, I'm from some random country. I'm gonna ask, hey, do you want to go to Slovenia?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to go to Slovenia. I want to go everywhere." And he's like, we have a lot of places we got to go to. COVID always mess things up, so we're trying to really get on the road. And he's been saying that spiel for like 4 years now, or 3 years now. I just wait one person to be like, "Yeah, so we keep saying that. So when are you gonna do it? Like, when are you gonna actually stop doing shows in the Apex and be on the road all the time?" Like you keep saying. Molly McCann is the reason why. Like, why is this at the Apex? Molly McCann went from megastar to prelims under Gilbert Urbina in the Apex. Don't even get to watch her entrance. Anyways, Molly McCann got a rematch against Diana Belvita, this time at strawweight, winning by first round sub. Do you believe in Molly McCann, the 115 pounder?
I believe in her to the exact same extent I did Molly McCann, the 125 pounder. It's the whole narrative they tried to feed us about this fight was just so strange. Like, Belvita is the exact same fighter she was 4 years ago. McCann is a slightly refined version of the one she was. Although I will say she's a better offensive wrestler and grappler than she was. She's clearly worked on that part of it, but lack of offensive wrestling and grappling has never been her problem. It's, a kind of basic, predictable striking game and lack of defensive wrestling and grappling. So I functionally, in terms of upside in the division, McCann is the same fighter she was 4 years ago. being down a weight class was not going to make this go any differently. McCann got Bellator on the ground and beat the shit out of her the first time they fought. That wasn't going to get harder at 115. And the UFC booth was talking about them like they're two very different fighters. That's not the case. McCann was like, I've got the wrestling and grappling sorted, which, just to have some insurance on that, they matched her up against the worst wrestler in the division. Yeah, McCann destroyed her. She destroyed her faster this time. Grappling looked pretty sassy, but I don't believe in her. I believe in her the same way I did. She's a decent but limited fighter who has star potential if they match her properly.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about someone who just beat up someone that we already started beat up exactly the way that we. I mean, she got the finish, so that like that, but similar. She did enough on the feet. I will say this: there is some things I like. So the first thing is, she's not undersized. I mean, she always was undersized. I mean,
yeah.
And, losing a couple love handles is always a good thing. Like, getting in better shape is always a good thing. Like, she looked good, like physically looked good. So that I do like. But it doesn't matter. That's like, if I, I thought she did something. If I had Molly McCann as a 5, on a scale of 10, I'm talking about her skill. I'm not talking like, don't be perverts. Okay, I'll give her 5.5. Like, I do like that she's, in better shape. Okay. But that's not how it goes with Molly McCann. Molly McCann is a star. She needs to fight I've said it over and over again. She needs to fight every fight in the UK and fight in tomato cans, like every single fight, until she loses to one of these tomato cans.
Yep.
And just keep doing it. Like,
why would you do anything else?
They need to make it. They need to trick that. Like, they'll never trick the hardcores, but they need to just keep feeding her like tomato cans, but make her like a Goldberg. Like, oh, the streak continues. Like, have her do like a crazy long walk. It's just, she turns into the female Goldberg. I do want to answer one of the questions. Anthem Tartar said, silly Keith, media members can't ask actual questions. That is true, but I think there's a way you could do it. You go like this. So Dana, I know, it's a big goal of the UFC is to be on the road a lot more. And I mean, obviously there's so many places that you want to hit and go to. Do we have a kind of a time frame when can we expect you guys being on the road more? That's such an easy way to say it without coming off like a prick. Saying like, hey, Dana, you're always saying that you want to be, be on the road more instead of Apex, but hey, you haven't really done it in 3 years. Like, when are you gonna tell the truth? Like, that's not how you do it. You just do it the way I just said it.
Yeah. Or you put up your hand, you put on a fake accent and say, I am from Slovenia Sporting Journal.
Yeah.
And in response to your question, Big Marcel, I have no idea why Keith picked Slovenia, but we're sticking with Slovenia. that will just stand in for all the countries the UFC says they want to get to, but can't even make it to Africa, an entire continent. So
what do you, first of all, if you gave me a map of the world and like didn't have any of them filled in, and how long you think before I could guess Slovenia? Like, how long would it take? Would it be quicker or slower than the Randy Brown fight tonight?
Ooh, it's good.
But without me saying like going this one, like me actually like filling in like.
Well, in terms of like, not in terms of time, but I'd say you'd probably get it within 10 or 12 guesses.
I appreciate the confidence there, man. I don't know if I know the continent it's on.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, that'd be rough.
Like, this freaking guy, this thing's in Europe and I'm filling in freaking Asia or something in South America. Is it in Europe? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's in Eastern Europe.
All right. There you go, Marcel. Slovenia. I didn't know if that was like one of those countries that don't exist anymore. Like,
it exists.
What's Uzbekistan or someone that doesn't exist.
Uzbekistan exists. Muradov is from there. He fought tonight. Here's me, dude. I was born.
What was the one?
I was born in a city and a country that no longer exist. There you go.
I don't know, Czech Republic.
No, like dude, I was literally I was born in
Yugoslavia?
Saigon, South Vietnam. Neither is on a map anymore.
South Vietnam. There you go.
Yeah, Saigon, South Vietnam, no longer on the map.
There you go. Yugoslavia, that doesn't exist anymore?
That doesn't exist anymore. It's
Oh,
now
there you go.
Bosnia, Croatia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. The Europeans must be like, this guy is such an asshole. Love you guys out there in Europe. Love you. Before that, Charles Johnson took on Azat Maxim. I know I butchered his name, winning by unanimous decision. Just give me your thoughts on this one. This was a surprising one.
Yeah. Fair play to Charles Johnson. He looked good tonight. He's always going to have some problems. He's always going to have certain flaws as a fighter, but for the guy that was stepping up on the relatively shorter notice, for him to be able to take advantage of Maxim's relative lack of late fight motor, honestly, the same way Tyson Nam did, was impressive. And even when they were both fresh, he was at least holding his own. Like Maxim looks like one of those prospects that maybe had not run into the right guy yet.
I'm not jumping off the boat. I think he had moments where he looked brilliant, especially early. I mean, he looked spectacular. When he was dropping Charles Johnson a couple times, and I was like, whoa, like he looks freaking sharp. I'm like, oh, this might be like that step up. Like he is that guy. And like you said, he started slowing down, and some of it's slowing down. Some of it's Johnson really changed what he was doing. He stepped on the gas more. He was cutting angles more. He wasn't letting him just tee off. He was challenging some of the things. He was making him like, even though you're going to hit me, I'm going to respond with a counter after it. You can't slow down at flyweight. Just can't do it.
No. So
maybe he needs to go up to 135. Maybe it's what things we fix. We've talked about guys before slowing down and fixing it countless times. We can name a list, go on and on. I wonder if he's one of these guys that tends to fight down to his competition. Because early on, it looked like, wow, he's going to blow the doors off this guy. And then, like, I don't feel like he gassed. Like, I still feel like he had good, pretty decent output. I mean, I do think he slowed, so I want to be clear, but he was going 90 on the highway and down to, like, he hit the, it wasn't like, oh, shit, my engine just flew. It was more like, oh, there's a cop ahead, or there's a speed check, like, tap the brake a little bit. Or someone just cutting your lane, so you got to tap the brake. I don't know. I still believe in the guy. Like, he's well-rounded. I like his hands. I thought he showed some power he hasn't before. I believe this might just be one of those, like, oh, man, remember when Charles Johnson beat Maxim?
I can see that. He's young. He obviously has some elite skills, but he needs some sort of change, because whether you thought he won or lost, he had an unaccountably tough time with Tyson Nam. Here, he did clearly lose to Charles Johnson, and Johnson was 2-4 in the UFC coming into this. Tyson Nam, I've always thought he was a little underrated, but he's 40 years old. He's clearly on the tail end of his career. So at the very least, for Nam to win the third round and be the fresher guy is not a great look. Like, just
no.
Maxim, he might be the future of the division, but he's not looked like it so far. Now, having a loss right now might be the best possible thing for him, because if he wins this one, he goes to, what is that, 18-0 he would have been.
Sure.
He's getting a marquee matchup going forward, and maybe he's getting someone that's way too much for him right now. Maybe he's getting an ex top 10 guy who's still got, like, if Maxim got like a Matt Schnell or something in his next fight, I think that'd be way too much for him right now.
Tim Elliott. Imagine that.
Oh, dude, Tim Elliott is the ultimate nightmare for your up and coming untested prospect. Yeah,
absolutely.
But instead, he's going to get another Charles Johnson type, and if this sets him back a whole year on the ladder, that's a good thing for him.
Yeah. The Maxim, like, I didn't view him as like a Makayev level.
No.
But
even the Jake Hadley. No.
I view him at Hadley.
Okay.
But like, I didn't view Hadley as Yeah, I could see Maxim breaking the top 10 one day, and which is I think flyweights a great division. Obviously, I think it's the most exciting fights. Yeah, I hate the saying, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. It's like, no, but the top companies are always trying to improve.
Yeah.
You should always try to make it better. I don't know. I mean, he needs to check leg kicks. That's one issue. He's open. He has such a heavy boxing style that he's open to leg kicks. Obviously, maybe a change of scenery, change of team, something like that. But again, like, let's not jump on the ship for a guy who's 17-1 now.
Yeah.
So, this one's gonna be a quick one. Themba Gorimbo knocked out Pete Rodriguez really quick in the very first round. I had an okay night on my picks. My big upset, trying to be trendy, upset pick of Pete Rodriguez was not one of them, as he was blasted the next week. Not only did he get blasted, by guys known for his grappling.
Yeah, Rodriguez, and I'm not going to say, oh, I called this, Gorimbo was a big favorite, but I said Rodriguez is too small for 170. Like, he always looks like a 155er that took a fight on short notice. And here, like, right away, he was trying to navigate the distance. He was bouncing in and out, on a much taller, much rangier opponent. Gorimbo just timed one of those in bounces, clipped him right on the point of the chin. It sounded like me using a mallet to split a coconut open.
Yeah.
Fantastic kill shot by Themba Gorimbo.
He's going to be even shorter for the division now because Gorimbo just knocked his head off. So
Pete Rodriguez, 5 feet even.
Yeah. Shout out to Gorimbo's wife, though, who was apparently praying and fasting this week for her husband to get a win. So go eat something, my dear. I love it. I love it. He called out his wife, like, dear, you can eat something now. I want. Like,
what a treasure. What a treasure.
That is a keeper.
Yes.
Blake Bilder took on Young Lee. One of the fights that on paper seemed like was going to be competitive. We both took Lee. I think the Gorimbo was clearly my worst pick. We both were pretty high on Lee in this fight, and I thought it was one of our best picks. I thought he looked incredible tonight.
We were both right. You were more right than I was, because what you wanted to point out on the preview is that you thought his power was underrated, and that was more or less the story of the fight. Bilder was game. He came forward the whole time, and he was swinging hard. He was swinging like a man who thought that he could take 2 to give 1 and win the fight. But that wasn't true. Lee stayed composed, stayed within himself, hit him with straight punches, but everything he hit, just Bilder reacted. There were never any big wind-up kill shots, but Bilder was just kind of blinking and shaking his head after every time Lee caught him with a jab or a right cross. And that was the case for the entire fight. He didn't manage the distance perfectly, but just every time Bilder came in, Lee made him pay to the extent that, like, he could never really tee off. He wasn't able to get the fight to the ground with any real success. He wasn't able to get inside and light him up with big punches. Lee just, like, he had to come across the trenches and all the barbed wire and stuff. And by the time he got into range, he was the worst for wear. And that was the story of kind of all 3 rounds for me.
Yeah, I thought Lee, he checked so many boxes tonight. He's fast, powerful, accurate, good. I love that he went to the body. I love that he had takedowns. Even the end of the fight, he was dropping some mean ground and pound. If we compare this to wrestling, he didn't pin his opponent, but he got the tech fall. Like, this was that much of a blowout.
17-2. This thing's over.
Yeah. He looks. And he's a guy. He looks like me, like, again, like beating Blake Bilder and not stopping him. It's not something that's, he's not going to get 50 Gs or anything like that tonight. But he's a guy that I take a lot of notes on, and I feel very good picking him. I mean, again, I don't know who's going to get matched against, but I feel very good moving forward. He looks like a guy that could one day be a ranked opponent. Like, he looks great.
I agree. And another thing that I'm going to say, you pointed out correctly, he didn't look that great in the road to UFC final. Like,
I thought he lost.
Yeah, and
could have.
And I think that's just an indication that 145 is really the place for him. He's going to
And
have.
he still looks big for the division, which
Yeah. Well,
which
he
is crazy.
looks
He
big.
might move out of that division again. He's a big dude.
He's big in that very Korean fighter way where he's tall, his shoulders are broad, his arms are long, then he turns sideways and it's like a playing card. He just disappears, like just front to back. That's how you get, the Dong Hyun Kims, the fighters that look huge. Yeah. They look huge for the division. Then they turn sideways. It's like, oh, you don't cut weight, you cut depth. Like, you just like.
Yeah, I thought he looked really good. Before that, Liana Carolina took on my girl, one of my favorites, Julia Stoliarenko, winning by 3rd round TKO. I can't let it pass that Carolina did miss weight by 4 pounds. Can't feel too bad because Stoliarenko has missed weight before herself. It's going to be hard to win fights when your best position is pulling guard and fighting off your back, throwing up like your one move.
Being the Jimmy Flick of women's flyweight is not because, dude, and we've talked about a lot of fighters where they're a grappling specialist. They lack obvious ways to bring the fight to the ground just because they're not good wrestlers. They're not good athletes. But she is apart from Mackenzie Dern, Jillian Robertson, Randa Marcos. Her striking is a whole other level of ugly. It is bad, dude. And at 125, her slowness is even more obvious. Carolina is terrible. And Carolina looked like Anderson Silva for stretches of this fight.
I'll say that I think Carolina's getting better. I do. I mean, again, I still think she's a lower level UFC talent, but she's shown more fight IQ a little bit, or I don't want to say IQ, like awareness, maybe. I don't want to say like she has a great game plan, but I like some of the things she did. Like when they got to the clinch position and Stoliarenko was clinching, she made her pay in there. Like she was landing mean knees, the ground and pound at the very end. Stoliarenko went for that triangle and. Yeah, she was tired. Obviously, you're squeezing your legs. It's late in the fight. But there was also, besides being tired, there was a moment of will was broken. Like she got out this, I don't know, 30 seconds left. I'm going to lose the decision. That was my chance. Oh, I blew my chance. And Carolina wasn't satisfied with just getting the win. She's like, no, I'm going to put it on you now. I'm going to make you pay for that. Again, you always have to wonder if things would have changed if she cut 4 more pounds. Would she have been more gassed out?
Yeah, would she have been more gassed out?
But shame on your opponent. Shame on your opponent for taking the fight. Then, like, you can't complain about it if you take the fight. But anyways, sorry to interrupt.
I mean, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But the fact that Holly Holm was already saying, "Yeah, I probably won't take the fight if Kayla Harrison misses weight at UFC 300."
Smart. That's really, even if you will, it's smarter you put it out there.
Saying it right now. Yeah.
If you're Kayla Harrison, and I'm a Kayla Harrison. I love Kayla. I think of all the interviews I've done, Jens Paul was my all-time favorite interview, and Kayla Harris my second. I love Kayla Harrison. Personality-wise, like skill, there's some things, question marks, but yeah. I just see if you're Kayla Harrison and you're with your team and you're cutting weight and you're sitting there at 138 and you're like, oh man, I got 2 more pounds. Like, I should probably take the fight. You'll be like, cut more, get down. I've already lost 16, 18 pounds, something like that. I got to get 2 more pounds. I want to get, if I'm going to make cut all this weight, I want to get paid. Yeah. I think Holly Holm's crafty. Say what you want about Holly Holm. She's crafty.
Oh yeah.
Well, we have time to talk about that. Probably the most competitive fight, and most debated fight. Landon Quinones took on Markel Medeiros, with the newcomer Markel Medeiros winning unanimous decision. I looked at MMA decisions and it was 6-7 for Quinones getting the win. Like 6 media members gave it to Quinones. That should be 7 for Quinones, 6 for Medeiros. I did not send in my scorecard. I actually was a little behind, so I was kind of like playing catch up as I was still out. So I kind of started a little late. I would have sent my scorecard in, and I gave it to Mir. So it would have been 7-7. Because I normally have my scorecard in there. What the hell was the commentators talking about? They made it seem like freaking Quinones was teeing off on Medeiros and beating his ass. I know you don't really listen to the commentators, but it was one of the worst.
I don't know. And that's strange because Asenko is normally pretty solid. And honestly, it was Gooden tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On play. Yeah. Like, I mean, I think Gooden's annoying, but he's not usually like weirdly inaccurate. No, you know. I don't know, man. Like I did have the closed captions on so I could see what they were saying, but I thought it was a competitive fight. I thought Medeiros won the second and third rounds.
Yeah, that's what I had. I thought I thought Quinones won the first, and then second and third. I thought they were I thought all 3 rounds were close. But yeah, I gave it to Medeiros. It's like, holy crap, dude. Like they're making it seem like freaking it's Anderson Silva versus Chris Lehman the way it was going. And I'm like, yeah, I thought Medeiros, the reason why he won, and both guys landed probably about equal amount of shots, and they were talking about the power disparity of Quinones. I didn't see. I like Quinones. I really do. I like both these guys. I think both these guys are really like Quinones doesn't have the good record in the UFC right now, but I really think he's a good talent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not going to be a champion or a ranked guy, but I mean, I don't view him as a low level talent. I view him as a mid card talent, and same with Medeiros. So, I just thought Medeiros. We've talked about had the optics on his side. He was the one coming forward, having Quinones countering on his back foot, and just never looks good. When it's close rounds, they got to give it to the more aggressive guy.
Yeah,
usually, not always, but
not always. But if things are even close, that's sort of the tiebreaker in the eyes of a lot of judges, I think.
Yeah. And before that, Jamal Pogues took on Thomas Peterson, with Pogues winning unanimous decision. Pogues' takedown defense was pretty solid at times. Peterson did not set up his entries at all, and he didn't he stopped wrestling for real long periods. I thought it was a terrible showing by Peterson, and Pogues. I don't feel good about him. I mean, he looked. I mean, he gained they were talking about him being like 25 pounds even fatter, and it was like all to his gut, like that.
Yeah.
I'm not freaking out Schwarzenegger over here, but geez, come on.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I got wrong. We both got wrong, and when I get a fight this wrong, I feel as though I owe it to myself and to you, if you're watching this, to at least learn something from it and figure out why. And here's the thing. I mean, I said on the preview that I didn't think Peterson would sell out for the takedown, but he'd just get them when they came.
Yeah.
And that was going on the assumption, which is usually a valid assumption with unranked heavyweights, that the fight IQ is just not there. A lot of heavyweight fights just end up in clinches and weird collisions. And Peterson has the instincts, the muscle memory, the superior balance. Whenever he wants it on the ground, he's going to be able to make it go there real easy without selling out. But Pogues, to his credit, came in there with a clear game plan. Like he didn't give Peterson those situations. Like Peterson, if he wanted a takedown, he was going to have to shoot real for really real takedowns. And he didn't do it enough. And later in the fight, he didn't really do it at all, despite the fact that Pogues was obviously getting more tired. Like it was a pretty good performance by Pogues. Like I'd give a small, upward arrow for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Downward arrow for Peterson, where he had a huge stylistic advantage, probably had the advantage in athleticism and power, and just didn't do anything with it. Like he left money on the table here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. The other thing I wrote, one of my notes was like junior college heavyweight wrestling is not Division I, like 133. There is a skill set going from the lower weight classes to the heavier weight class, and then adding in the level it is. It's just it doesn't translate as well in MMA.
The last time that really meant something, it was probably when Brock Lesnar was winning JUCO national titles.
Yeah, but then he also went on to go D1 and win a D1 title too, and he's a freak athlete. I don't think Peterson's on that Brock Lesnar freak athlete. And also
even then he only won like once Stephen Neal graduated, if we're being honest.
Well, he only had 2 years in Division One, and he lost in the finals, and it was a very close match. He had a
in
nice
his junior year. Yeah, he had a nice
Lesnar's junior year. Yeah, Lesnar's junior year.
Yeah.
Speaking of losing in finals and semis, before I forget, shout out to my son's private team wrestling club, Mayo Quanchi. We have the middle school states going on right now. There's 17 weight classes. We got 15 semifinalists right now. And I'm very confident we're going to win at least half of those weight classes, if not more. So shout out to Mayo Quanchi, the best. I will say it. No, none of the other coaches will say it. I might get in trouble for saying this, but the best team in New England. I don't give a shit what anybody says. So there you guys have. We covered all those ones. I give a shout out to my boys. Do we have any awards?
Yeah, we have the awards. We have a fight of the night, and we have 2 performances of the night.
Ooh.
And
okay, let's how about this, Ben? Do you agree with him?
I would have to think a minute about the fight of the night, but I don't hate it, and I'm very much on board with the 2 performances. They're good.
Okay. I think the performance is a little easier. I think it's Garimbo for sure.
Actually, I disagree with the performances now that you mention it.
Okay. So I was going with Garimbo and Brown, Randy Brown.
Okay. If you're listening right now, and thank you, Jeff Pelton, very much. That's extremely kind of you. We, we'll always give you the generous ones a shout out. But if you're watching this, you probably know who the bonuses are already because you maybe have the press conference on one of your other screens, or you're watching your Twitter feed. So let us know whom you would give the awards to if they happen to differ from what we got. Your actual winners, performance bonus to Randy Brown for lancing Muslim Salikov in 3 minutes. The other one, Molly McCann for turning Diana Belbitsa into a pretzel. Your fight of the night, Charles Johnson versus Azat Maksum.
Okay, let me get this straight. So they talk about Garimbo having $7 in his bank account and all this stuff, and The Rock saving him and doing all good and all that. And the guy knocks out his opponent like super crazy fast, and you don't give him the 50. Jeez.
And after he said that he was going to go try to pay it forward and change people's lives and build infrastructure in Zimbabwe, the UFC's like, no, we'll hold on to our, we'll give it to
we're not going to Zimbabwe anyway. We're going to go to Nigeria or South Africa. We don't care. I mean, McCann had a great performance. Racky had a good one too. So just picking, Brown for sure. I thought Garimbo, but okay. I'm sorry. What'd you say was the fight of the night?
Johnson versus Maksum.
I don't hate that.
No, I don't hate that either. I think you can make a case for Quinones versus Medeiros, but I don't hate Maksum versus Johnson at all.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. What about the main event?
I don't like
you. I liked it more than you did.
Yeah, you liked it more than me. I did not especially like the main event. I found the last 3 rounds kind of frustrating. So
what about Dilber and Moicano?
I liked Dilber versus Moicano. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, but actually, I like that they went way down the card though. Yeah. So, actually, I think the 5 rounds always, the longer battle always kind of has it. You kind of remember it in your head, but yeah, I mean, having the 3-round prelim fight, yeah, it's cool. And Johnson, we didn't even mention this during the fight. Johnson took that fight on short notice.
Yeah, not ultra short, but 3 weeks or something. Yeah,
which I'm sure he has just to make it to. I love his call out. He called out Josh Van, which is always a tough fight for the opener. I mean, everyone's trying to call it to get on UFC 300, but I love where he knows where he stands. He calls out Josh Van, which is gonna be. He's like, dude, we'll light up the house. We'll have you the first fight of the night. I he didn't even try to pretend. Put me on that card. He's put me first.
I'm pretty sure that Bo Nickel actually is the opening fight. Jokes aside, I'm pretty sure that Nickel versus Brundage is the opener. I think that's what Dana said. So yeah, he's not bumping that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a title eliminator.
Yeah, imagine if Brundage wins, it ruins my whole night right away. Just ruins it.
Keith calls in sick midway through the card.
That's it. Biggest card of the year. Fuck this shit. All right, let's go. Let's do the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and the Bears are a stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You don't want to be the Bears list. We do it hockey style. 3, 2, 1. Let's do. You want to do Bulls or the Bears?
Oh, let's do Bears.
All right. So these are the ones who had a bad night. Do you mind if I go first?
Go for it.
All right. I'm going to go with Drew Dober.
Okay.
I mean, it wasn't like his actual fighting skills. He showed more, like a little more confident. He couldn't get off the bottom, but didn't get submitted. He actually hit a lateral drop. He rocked McCall. So it wasn't bad in that sense, but he's just continued to show that he can't get over the hump. Like, he's hit his ceiling. No matter what, he's like, it was like when we were talking about Cleo Rountree when he went against Anthony Smith a couple weeks ago. Like, Cleo Rountree for the longest time couldn't get over the hump, and then finally he just did. We're still waiting for that for Drew Dober. So to me, his stock went down. Number 2, it's got to be as Markham. I mean, just losing the 0 is always going to put you back a little bit. So no longer undefeated. And my number 1 is going to be the guy in the main event, Roman Dolidze. I mean, that's 2 fights in a row in that division. Again, that is the division when you can turn it around and like a year and a half. I mean, Sean Strickland lost a fight and like 2 fights later was fighting for the title. So it's not in the wrong possibility that he can turn around. Just he's going in the wrong direction. So what do you got?
I agree with all yours. All I would throw in is I'm adding in Blake Builder. He is a guy that has a big outsized personality and could be kind of not a champ star, but like a Molly McCann type star, like a big personality who has fun fights, but you got to win fights. And at this point, he's lost 2 in a row to taller, rangier featherweights. Unfortunately for him, most guys in the division are taller and rangier. We've kind of seen his ceiling. I will throw in the only other one I'll add to the pile is, and I think in some ways you can make the argument that he's the biggest loser of the night, Aliaskhab Khizriev. When you fought twice in the last 6 years, when you were an undefeated prospect that people barely know who you are because you just keep taking 18, 24 months off at a time, you get to the cage in a relatively marquee spot for the first time in over a year and a half. Your fight's over in 11 seconds, and it is 100% your fault. Like, this was the worst possible outcome for him. A loss to Muradov, where he came out, healthy and able to compete in 3 months, might have been better than this. Like, this is bad, man. Like, bad for his stock, which is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one. I'm kind of sad I didn't put him on my list. Good call. Let's go to the Bulls. These are the ones you want to be in the list. I only have 3 on my list, so I'm gonna go and cheat and go first again.
Okay.
Usually I like write a whole bunch, and so in case you take some, like cross them off.
Okay.
This is what happens when you start really late and you're trying to cruise through and get as many notes you can while catching up. I'm gonna go with Gorimbo. I mean, 2 wins in a row in the division. He's got that, like, he's so likable. He's such a likable. Shout out to and I'm gonna butcher his name. I apologize for saying no. He's a loyal listener. Very funny guy. Anthem Tardif. He said, talking about Gorimbo not getting the bonus. He's telling his wife to go back to fasting. She should have fasted to the end of to the end till they gave out the bonuses. That's what it was. He got the win. He stopped relying on the Lord. You got to at least get the bonus too. So
either that or Anthem was saying she needs to go back to fasting because he still only got $7 in his checking account.
Oh no. Beans and rice. Number 2, this is not going to be one when you look at, if you look at the Fight Finder and you pull up Sherdog and if you didn't get to watch tonight because you just want to see, it's not going to be one you go like, oh wow, what a performance. But Jung Young Lee, to me, I thought he looked spectacular. With the Korean Zombie retired, that obviously that area needs a new star. I am not comparing him to the Korean Zombie, because that's incredible. Besides his success in MMA, but like his popularity would be really, but maybe he is that guy. Maybe he becomes the new face of Korean MMA. I wouldn't have guessed it before. I thought he had a great performance tonight. And to me, number 1, again, not A for her performance, but just what she's done, the totality of what she's done in the UFC. Being 5-0 in the UFC, Natalia Silva. I mean, we're talking her. We're putting her in that category with top stars. So I go with Natalia Silva. Do you have anybody else?
Those are the exact three I would have chosen. The only person I'd say gets should merit a little respect here would be Charles Johnson. You take a fight on short notice, you knock the zero off a prospect, and you pick up an extra $50,000. That's a pretty good night of work. And for people like me, he is slowly changing the narrative about himself. I figured, I mean, dude, if he'd lost, he might have been on my cut list.
Yeah,
2-5 in the UFC.
I agree. He was. This seemed like heading into tonight that this was just a paycheck one, like one more paycheck before you do. But hopefully he gets a new haircut. And
well, he's already entering that Vitor Belfort territory where he had multiple different haircuts that are among the worst haircuts in UFC history. He's already forged his legacy there. But
it's like a Jonathan Goulet type.
Yeah, if Maxim goes on to win his next 4 fights, Johnson's stock is going to rise along with him.
Absolutely.
So yeah, good stuff for Charles Johnson.
You just mentioned the cut list. The cut list is where both me and Ben give the UFC permission to cut people. Obviously, we'll take listeners' insight too. If both me and Ben have the same name on both our lists, we give them permission. If one of us does not have them on the list, we allow the UFC to keep that person. Ben, I have 3.
Okay.
What might surprise you?
I have 1, 2.
2. All right. So I'll let you go first.
Okay. Pete Rodriguez is 1-2 in the UFC, and his one win is over Mike Jackson, who, while I think he's a real solid dude, is not and never was a UFC level fighter. Losing to Jack Della Maddalena is not that bad. Getting iced in 30 seconds by Temba Garimbo is. I would let Pete Rodriguez go.
Oh, I actually saved Pete Rodriguez. I'm giving him one more chance.
Wow. Notably getting a reprieve for me is Yulia Stoliarenko. If Carolina had made weight, I would have cut Stoliarenko tonight.
Yeah. You automatically get that past me if your opponent misses weight.
Yeah, to me, you get a pass if your opponent misses weight or if you take a fight on notably short notice. My other one is
like that week. Yeah. Unless you're like Sam Alvey, you've lost 19 in a row, but yeah.
Diana Belbitsa. She is not a UFC level flyweight. She is not a UFC level strawweight. She is not a UFC level fighter. Let her go.
Yeah, you lost 2 in a row. You had a rematch against someone, and you did a worse performance. She was already talking about retirement. She was even talking about like retiring if she won.
John Butterfield speaking like a manager.
Is some of his fighters on that lost tonight? Is that what happened?
Hey, maybe they're maybe these people get cut. They're giving you the call saying who's hot in Egypt.
Right, yeah, so man, we're trying to help you out. If anything, yeah, Belvita lost 5 out of 7, 2 in a row. So I saved 1 on your list. You're saving 2 on my list. 1 might surprise you, and 1's really gonna surprise you. Blake Bilder lost 2 in a row. I thought really bad performance in both of them. Just giving Mr. Bilder another chance. And the other one I had, he's 39. He's lost 3 out of 4. I was cutting Muslim Salikov.
The king is dead. The king of Kung Fu is dead. Long live the king.
That's it. Can I rant for a second?
Rant away.
Just because, like, whatever. It's after midnight, and this is for us. This is a short show, being our early show, I should say.
Yeah.
You ever see these questions? I get them in like every. They've been in Sherdog forums forever, and different like Facebooks and stuff. When you have like a picture, it'd be like a real fighter, and then a picture of Bruce Lee. And he'd be like, "Who would win in a fight?" And like that. Do people not realize how dumb that is? It'd be like, "Who'd win in a fight, John Jones or Leonardo DiCaprio?" You know why? Because Bruce Lee was a fucking actor. He wasn't a fighter. He got one fight in his career against what's his name? Wong Jack Man. Wong Jack Man apparently beat him. And Bruce Lee denied it. And he said, "Oh yeah, then let's do it again. Let's have it televised." And Bruce Lee turned it down. Like, the guy was just an actor. All right. Anyway, sorry. You just said kung fu and made me do that. Sorry for. I just got a lot of people to hate me for saying that. I apologize. Want to get the dude seriously? Because I probably should be on the list for saying that, right? About Mr. Lee.
No, I'm okay with that. I like people when people are realistic.
I think Bruce Lee would have beat. I think he would have beat Leonardo DiCaprio. I don't know though. Leonardo DiCaprio in The Departed wasn't Leonardo DiCaprio who beat up. He beat a former kickboxing champion, Armin Garrow from Providence, Rhode Island. Do you know who Armin Garrow is?
No.
You do know him. You just don't know.
Well, now I do.
Oh, you do. Yeah. He's the guy who gets beat up. He was in The Sopranos. He got beat up. He always gets beat up. The guy actually was a badass in his heyday. He's the guy who got beat up by Tony Soprano for hitting on Meadow. Remember the gangster who hit on Meadow?
Yeah.
That's him. Huh. Armin Garrow. He's from East Providence, Rhode Island, the city I grew up in. He was a former East Providence police officer. He was also a top kickboxer back in his day. Anyways, so all right, dude. Seriously, do you have any?
We've kind of discussed it, but the obvious dude seriously is to me all took place in round 4 of the main event. Like Imavov double checking to make sure that Dolidze was grounded before kicking him in the face. I still would love to know, and maybe it was addressed at the post-fight presser, but I would love to hear what his actual thought process was, because that was just absolutely bizarre. I still think it's probably the most blatant foul I've ever seen. Dude, seriously?
How about this? If I'm like a cornerman with Chris Curtis, and my guy's losing, he's about to lose a fight, and the referee jumps up and says, we're gonna, if you keep trying to fight him, we're gonna disqualify you, meaning give my other opponent a win. I'd say to Chris, dude, jump up on the cage and start calling him a bitch and shit. Get him to come back over and fight you. Like, say something nasty to him in French. You know, like, Italian bread's better than French bread anyway. So I don't like the cheese. The Eiffel Tower is ugly. You know? I don't know.
It's weird that like that's what it took to get Imavov all fired up after like being maybe not as aggressive as he could have been against the guy he was actually supposed to fight that night. That was another dude seriously, and then another dude seriously that Boz threw out there. That 47-47 scorecard. Would love to see Ron McCarthy pulled out onto the tiles for that one and forced to explain himself.
Yeah, I'll give you some. Themba Garimba, like the UFC marketing him having only $7 in account. That isn't the flex that I think they think it is. Like, dude, seriously, like, hey, we don't pay our employees nothing. He's so broke that it's $7 that a Hollywood actor had to come in and save him. Like, dude, seriously, like, stop marketing that. It makes you look like shit.
That's amazing.
It's like it'd be like if a TV show was friggin' produced by Ebenezer Scrooge. You're like, oh, we're gonna go to Bob Cratchit's house, and he's got the little turkey. Like, I'm talking about, like, you know, bad Ebenezer. Like,
yeah,
what are we doing, guys? I gotta go after John Gooden for a second. Dude, seriously, he goes, when Molly McCann wins, he goes, his exact words, what a way to answer your critics by beating a girl that she's already beaten. Like, that's gonna go, oh, she's looked terrible and was not that good and was a big hype machine only because she's friends with Patty. Oh, she beat Diana Bell beat up. Nah, I take back everything I said. Like, dude, seriously. I got Charles Radke. Dude, seriously, calling out Leon Edwards after you beat Gilbert Urbina? Like, dude, seriously.
Wait, well, he figures, okay, I can go from fighting one of the 3 best Urbinas to one of the 3 best welterweights in UFC history. You know, just, you know, the logical next step.
I mean, he did say, like, oh, Bilal Muhammad was calling him, so he was like, "My boy's gonna beat him, and then I'm
Like
gonna beat him."
Bilal can't get a fight with Leon.
Yeah, but he's like, Bilal's gonna beat him, and then right after Bilal wins the title, I'm gonna win the title. And I'll be like, "Did you just say that Bilal?
You're gonna fight Bilal?
Yeah, like you're gonna beat Leon Edwards, and then I'm gonna beat you." Like, I don't know, dude. Seriously, maybe my favorite dude, seriously, ever. Renato Moicano's dad, 62, still getting to 60 time and producing babies. Dude, seriously? Save some pussy for the rest of us, bro.
I
apologize
so
for using such a terrible word.
Like 35-year-old Moicano is about to have a little brother or sister. That is wild.
Dude, serious. Again, I apologize to any women for using a vulgar language there. I should have used a better word. All right. What was your grade for the card?
D. I rated it a D going in. Again, keep in mind, I didn't like the main event. I didn't like the main event.
Yeah.
The fight I was probably most excited for ended in a no contest in 11 seconds.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I might say a D plus, but here's the other thing. Like, even if you found the main event entertaining, it didn't give either guy much of a step forward in the division. So it ended up having even less divisional relevance than it promised on paper. Like, this card was just not it, man.
Wow, man. Ben, you're being like, you're being that like teacher who teaches like 12th grade English, like the AP class, and you're like demanding like good effort, like D. I'm giving it a C plus. I thought it was some good knockouts in it, but I'm being like the shop teacher who's like giving the kid who just has like a chisel and like chiseling to a piece of wood for like 6 weeks, just making marks. And I'm like, yeah, you tried. Here's a C plus.
Let's be honest. You're the wrestling coach that they let like teach like the lowest like English class so that you can be on staff as a teacher.
There you go.
And maybe make you fix the soda machines. Like,
yeah, I'm still trying to find Slovenia. I'm not teaching geography. That's for damn sure. Be like, yeah, geography teacher. I don't know. He just keeps going to like where America is. I don't know. If you find America, it's good enough. So, all right, hardest question. I've already given my listener of the night, which was Wish Bass for his line that he had earlier in the night. So I'm going to give it to the legendary Bass, I think he's been here since day one with us. So, and he deserves it. It's like lifetime achievement. So I'm going to give Bass our
yeah. I mean, I've considered Bass disqualified from winning these for like 2 years now. He was there for our very first recap. He is a serious like stalwart. He still comes around just about every week. But yeah, I'll let him come out of retirement and win one more. I'm with you. Boss got it tonight. But thanks to everybody. It was even the worst fight night card is made better for me by the opportunity to come and talk with you guys. It seriously is like the highlight of my night. So,
and Bass's victory, he gets to go to the Patriot Pub with Moicano's dad and pick up the ladies. So, all right, there you guys have it. We've covered the entire night. We believe this is the most in-depth recap show. We were a little silly tonight, but that's what happens when we have these kind of cards. We will be back next week. Jack Hermanson is going to be welcoming Joe Piper to the big leagues. And when I mean big leagues, I mean the top of the division. And next week, that's the card. We'll be previewing it and we'll be recapping it. We thank you guys for listening. If you listen the next day, leave a comment and guys, do all that stuff that like we should probably say in the very beginning of the show. Like, share, comment. It helps the algorithms, and I don't know, keeps from me and Ben from having a job. So please do all that stuff. So until next, guys, peace out.